I'm Dick Ober, President and CEO of the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. This fall, we've been traveling around the state, meeting with hundreds of people and talking together about what it means to create a New Hampshire for all. A New Hampshire for all is not just a slogan, it defines our foundation's purpose: to make New Hampshire a more just, sustainable, and vibrant community where everyone can thrive. A community where Jean Shiner from Exeter, who is blind, has the technology to read a ballot in the voting booth and helps others to do the same. Where Day Martinez of Milford mentors young people who have lost a parent to the opioid epidemic, as he did. Where Aaron Almanza of Claremont proudly flies a rainbow flag and runs the nation's oldest LGBTQ helpline. And Errol Warden of the North Country travels to the State House for the first time ever to testify for higher wages for child care professionals. Anthony Poore, founding president of the Center for Justice and Equity, describes it as a New Hampshire where, regardless of who you love or how big your pocketbook or what your race or country of origin or native language, you can contribute to the greater good and feel like you belong here. These stories, which are in our annual report, define the heart and soul of our communities. We are inspired by them and by hundreds more, and proud to support the work. Each story is unique, and yet they all share common qualities. People who want to make their community better, nonprofits innovating to tackle complicated challenges, and foundation donors who help fuel the work. They are stories of resilience and courage, of equity, belonging, justice, and opportunity. Some claim that those ideas are new and somehow controversial. They're not. They are the bedrock principles of our democracy, the North Stars of our far from perfect union. And they're the principles on which this foundation was created 60 years ago. What is new is the intensity of the combined challenges we face and the resolve to take them on. In just the past few years, we've been through a pandemic that highlighted the inequities that have long plagued this country. It was unprecedented and hard for us all. But if you are Black, brown, unsheltered, or poor, you are far more likely to get seriously sick or die. Floods and record heat and other evidence of the clear and present danger of climate chaos. Efforts to disenfranchise voters and to undermine trust in democracy. We've seen increases in hate crimes and mass shootings, too often targeting people because of who they are. Laws passed here and in other states to prevent educators from teaching about racism and inequality. Continued and widening gaps in wealth, income, and in opportunity. The Supreme Court reversing decades of established rights, and a society riven by polarization and division. And yet, despite these problems, or maybe even because of them, I remain optimistic and hopeful, and here's why. First, more and more people are acknowledging and openly discussing difficult truths. To become a community where everyone can thrive, we must be honest about who isn't thriving and why. Race and background and zip code shouldn't predict life outcomes, but they do. Systemic inequity and racism are historic and present realities, and they undermine our shared prosperity. Naming these truths is hard and can be hazardous, but it's the first step towards solutions. Second, I believe that the vast majority of people agree with a New Hampshire for all, and they show it by learning, giving, volunteering, and advocating for one another. We saw that during COVID, when nonprofits were on the front lines of saving lives and donors responded with unprecedented generosity. That spirit and commitment continues. Third reason for hopefulness is that our board and staff are all in for Together We Thrive, our new strategic plan. We are committed to advancing equity, racial justice, and economic security across the foundation. In grant making, student aid, donor engagement, public policy, communications, operations, governance, and investment strategies. So what does that look like in practice? Here are just a few examples. Making unrestricted multi-year grants so nonprofits can spend more time on mission. More scholarship to students who face barriers so they get the education they deserve and the skills that local employers need. Levering and advising how millions in public funds are invested for substance use, behavioral health, and other priorities. Working with generous people to bring philanthropic resources to bear to help solve our collective challenges. Aligning environmental and climate grants with the vision and input of conservation partners across the state. The Trestle Fund, which provides direct assistance to families in partnership with Family Resource Centers and the New Hampshire Children's Trust. A new racial justice fund being designed and run by community members who experience discrimination and understand the solutions. Addressing the inequitable way that we fund public education, so where a child lives does not determine the quality of their learning. Strengthening the systems for early childhood care and learning, including support for advocacy that has helped secure more public funding. Changing how we engage community, consulting and sharing decision-making with people who are most affected by inequity. And putting the Foundation's invested assets to work for positive social impact as well as financial return, and much, much more. I've never been more excited to be part of this foundation and our broader independent sector. We are inspired by the courage and the vision that all of you show every day. That's what it means to be a community foundation. Not one donor and one fund and one area of work, but the collective ideas and resources and passion of thousands. So to our nonprofit partners and friends, keep sharing your ideas and your advice. Tell us how we can be a better partner and funder. To everyone who gives, remember that large, better-known nonprofits do amazing work, and don't forget the small grassroots groups in your community. Please dig deep. Let's all find one thing we can do right now, right where we are, to make our community better, and then find one more. Because a New Hampshire for all takes all of New Hampshire. Thank you.